Hey guys, so right off the bat, I'll start off with the ABS relocation. Um, there's plenty of kits out there. There's a Chase Bays kit that actually just deletes the ABS, which is probably better for what I'm doing with this car, but it's like 300 bucks, and I don't think that's even including the brake booster delete. Um, I was kind of looking for a quick solution and not trying to spend um, more than I have to. So my goal was to just move the location from here to here. Um, the brake lines, the factory brake lines that run along the firewall, or I guess that actually attached to the ABS block, are a 3/16 hard line. And what I ended up doing was I didn't know uh, how I was going to plumb the lines. I didn't really have any intention or goal in mind. So what I ended up doing was I just went to a local hydraulic fitting store, and they actually stocked pre-made 12-inch long flared and pre-flared with fittings, with the correct fittings on them, for like 360 or 370 a pop. So I bought 6 of them at 12 inches long. Like I said, 3/16 hard line to M10 by 1 thread pitch tube nut. So you'll need 18 of them, because there's 6 that go into the block, 6 that are going to attach to our coupler, and then you'll need 6 more for the other side of the coupler for the factory lines. You don't need 12 inches. And also I should note, for the O1, that's what I've got, the O1 ABS block is a slightly different layout than the O2 Plus. So 12 inches might be more than what you need, or might not be what you need if you have a different year. So before you do this, just take a look at the layout of the block and figure out exactly where you're going to put it, and kind of just eyeball what you think you'll need. The nice part is you as long as you give yourself some extra space. So if you don't cut the factory lines too short, then if you make any mistakes, or if anything happens, you can always cut it a little bit shorter and restart. Like when I started to flare the fittings, or sorry, the brake lines, since it's a 3/16, it requires a 3/16 center punch. So what I did was I went to the local hardware store. I bought a flaring tool, and I ended up having to go back 3 different times because I kept breaking the 3/16 center punch, because it's just so small and not very strong for the amount of force you're putting on it as you try to flare that brake line. So just something to keep in mind when you're flaring these. Just make sure your center punch is on straight, and as you're tightening down the clamp, that it's distributing pressure evenly and pushing that center punch down evenly, and not from one side to the other, because that's what ended up breaking it. Ended up bending and snapping. So anyways, yeah, you'll need the 6 lines, 18 of the M10 by 1 fittings. As you can see, one of my lines is super short. I ended up only needing 2.5 inches, so I ended up cutting the one of the 12-inch lines that I bought and shortening it, and then reflaring it. But overall, that ended up being cheaper than just having it custom made. And again, I didn't know how long it needed to be, So 12 inches basically gave me enough room to play with. So what I did was, before I started cutting away and whatnot, I took some painter's tape and I marked each of the lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And at first I used a Sharpie to label 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, but the brake fluid is it wiped the numbers right off. It's not permanent. So draw yourself a legend on like a piece of paper or cardboard or something that's not going to get wiped away from the brake fluid itself. And then you'll need 6 of these couplers. They are obviously the same thread pitch as your fitting. It's an M10x1 inverted coupler, inverted flare coupler. That's important. Make sure that if you're buying these, that you're getting the correct fitting, because just because it's the right thread pitch, that's only half of what you need. I ended up reusing the factory hoses here on these vacuum lines, or these not vacuum lines, but they're the feed and the return, I'm guessing. I'm not 100% sure. But anyways, I just had to shorten these up because these ended up running like all the way to here. So I cut them in a way to where I could still use the stock hoses where I end up putting the block. And then there's this hard line right here that normally runs to, I don't even think I have the sensor on here anymore, but it goes to the factory air box, and it's like an air cleaner or some shit, I don't know. I just capped it off. That might be wrong. So I need to verify if that's correct or not. So for now, it's just capped off. If anyone watching who has already done the swap can confirm that, go ahead and confirm that in the comments, I guess. Not 100% sure what this line is for, but I know it wasn't connected to anything when I bought the car, and it was still NA, which might have been a huge vacuum leak. But anyways, yeah, I just capped it off. I guess I'll figure that out later if that ends up being a problem. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The kit itself, with all the fittings and the pre-made lines, it only cost like $75 out the door, and the rental fee is free as long as you return your rental back to the auto parts store. And then aside from bleeding the brakes and needing to buy more fluid for that, I'm pretty sure you can do this whole swap for under $100. So that was the main thing that attracted me to wanting to undergo this project, was trying to keep this whole swap in and of itself at a cost-effective and minimal amount of expenditure as possible, while still being practical and reliable. I think this will work just fine. It's worked in my other IS. I didn't do the work on that one, but I pretty much just copied what I had going on there, so it should work. So yeah, this is the ABS relocation video, I guess, whatever you want to call it. Up next, I guess I'll do the battery relocation to follow up, since the ABS went in its spot. So yeah, thanks.